So, the Sidon Ship from the Space 1999 episode Voyagers Return is one of my favourite Space 1999 craft, easily in my top five, right? I love the insect-like look of it. I love the colour scheme of it. All evokes very much, 70s science fiction spaceships. And when I found out what Martin Bower used to make it, I like the ship even more. So much so that about, well, it's more than 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, back when the Eagle Transporter Forum was a mighty thing, I actually set about making one, a studio scale one, and I had amassed the four main donor parts that you need to make one of these things. I'll talk about them uh, as this project goes on. Yeah, I'd got the basic shape. I'd amassed some of the kit parts needed, and then I gave up on it. I think I was getting a bit fed up not being able to source accurate kit parts, and I sold it on. And I seem to remember I made quite a profit on it actually. But I've always regretted it. I wish I'd just put it in a box, put it to one side, waited, and for the kit pieces to come up. Especially now I've done quite a number of studio scale kits now, sorry, models now, using the original kits, and it is just a game of waiting, and I wish I had, but never mind. Anyway, always been a favourite of mine. Let me show you another view. Always been a favourite of mine. And a few weeks ago, a guy by the name of Frank Wanson on the Space 1999 Props and Ships Facebook page put up a photo he had done of a model he had made of this ship. So I contacted him and said, "Hey, where'd you get that from?" Turns out it's 3D resin printed, and he gave me the details for the guy that was selling the files. Now, I have absolutely no knowledge whatsoever about all this new modeling malarkey, but I bought the files, downloaded them, and because I've got a number of friends who do have 3D printers, and I said to them, look, if I send you the file, could you um, print it out for me? Sure, they go. Um, what I hadn't known, because I've got no program to open the files or anything. The thing is that the 100% version is only 17 centimeters long. It's only about yay big, and I wanted something bigger. And the photo of Frank's looked a lot bigger. So I got back in touch with Frank and I said, how big is yours? And he said, oh, it was printed out at 200%, which gives you 34 centimeters. And that roughly equivalent is the equivalent of 1/48 scale. Aha, thinks I. If it was printed out at 1/48 scale, you can get an MPC Hawk at 1/48 scale. I've already got the 1/72nd, but it's like, well, if I have this printed out at 1/48th, I can then get the Hawk and I can display the two together. So that was the plan. Unfortunately, my friends who have 3D printers don't have a bed. Is that what it's called? A bed big enough to actually print this out at 34 centimeters. So I didn't want to waste my money on buying that file. So I looked around, and there's a 3D printing company in town. Sorry, I'll get to the model in a minute. I'm just giving you a backstory. All right, there's a 3D company in town that do printing, on demand. So got in touch with the guy called Stefan, and he said, "Let me take a look." He said, "Yeah, I can do that." So yeah, got it all arranged. 10 days later, he contacts me and says, uh, "The Sidon ship is printed out, but there's some small defects. I'd like you to come in and have a look." And I, I'm lucky that I chose a local one, because he literally was a walk down the road. So I went to see him, imagining all sorts of problems, misshapen, misformed, bad printings and everything. Actually, it's not too bad. Let me show you the ship. We'll finally get to the ship bit. How far are we in? 5 minutes in, and I haven't even shown you the model. Here we go. So he's printed it out in two parts, right? So it's basically like so when done. Right. One issue is here. He said that as it was printing out bottom upwards, this was malformed here, part of this ribbon affair. That's not too bad. I can either ping those off and refill them or glue them down and put a bit of filler. These bands are actually black on the finished model, so it's not going to be too bad. So that's one thing. I've got a few little bits of like crud and muck in there to clean off. Later on, I'll be telling you exactly what Martin used for these bits, right? So that's one thing. Oh, by the way, also comes with a nifty stand, all right? Um, the other small defect is nothing at all, really. Look, it's just a little blob there. I can easily snip that off and just get a small kit piece to substitute that, right? No, the main issue is, and I think it's totally my fault, is that we've got all this affair, all right, which is, you know, half of the course with 3D printing. I think the problem it's my fault. By I think by asking him to print it out at 200%, these are bigger than they would have been at 100%. So I've got to get rid of them. We've got some along the body as well, and on the underside as well. Um, so I've got to get rid of them. I have very little experience in 3D printed kits, so this is going to be interesting. What I might have to do, I'm going to have a go in a minute. I'm going to have a go at start sanding these down with going through different grades of wet and dry and see if that comes off easily. If it doesn't, another option is to use what I used on this Sandman's gun from Logan's Run, which I made years and years ago. This is old, early days 3D printing, and you can just see there's still a little bit left, but it had tons of the old striations and ridging and everything. And what I used for that was this stuff, filler primer, which is a very thick primer. And what I did there was spray a coat, sand it down, spray a coat, sand it down, keep going and keep going until all the ridging had gone. The worry I've got here, particularly on this bit, is if I do this on here, I might start losing detail. So I think first thing I'm going to do is have a go just wet and dry and see if I can get that off. If I do have to use the filler thing, I think I'm going to have to mask up details because I don't want to lose any of it. And this is going to be a bit tricky getting in here to get all that out. But I'm going to give it a go. All right, so that's it. I'm off now to start sanding. Well, I was feeling pretty pleased with myself yesterday. Um, I got uh, I got the old wet and dry out, and I started rubbing and rubbing and rubbing, and with a bit of effort, yeah, all the ridging started disappearing. It's like, hey, I'm not going to need the filler primer after all. Um, and yeah, put it to dry, all lovely and shiny and smooth, and then it's dried, and it ain't half scratched. Look at that. I was using 120 grade uh, wet and dry, and yeah, it's doing the job. Look, it's getting rid of the ridging, but it's scratching it like mad. I'm hoping this is going to be all right. I'll show you the body as well. I hadn't realised I was scratching it just so much. I'm hoping this will smooth down. Um, I was going to go up to like a 220, but I think I'm going to go to like a 400. I don't want to damage it any more than I have, and I have damaged it, haven't I? Looking at it under the camera lens. Um, it feels smooth to me, but it's scratched. Now, I don't know if this type of resin will smooth out. If it doesn't, then I think I might have to resort to the filler primer. I'd rather not, because it means covering up all these lovely little bits of detail beforehand, and that's going to be tricky. Um, it's going to be tricky. It's going to be easy enough to mask them up. It's going to be tricky to keep the masking on when I'm spraying and then using wet and dry to rub it down. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to swap over to like a 400 grade and see how I get on. Well, it's a day later and I'm feeling a lot better about it. Yesterday I had a go with 400 grit wet and dry, followed by 600 grit wet and dry. As you can see, there's a couple of little bits there, a little bit there, but it's definitely got rid of the scratching, thankfully. Yeah, look, see some more there. Um, it's got rid of all the scratching. This is lovely and smooth now, but there's still some ridging. This has come out better than I thought. I didn't think I'd be able to get much out. You can see, can you see there just a little bit? Um, that's lovely and smooth, but I can still see markings, and I think if I can see the markings in the bare resin, I'm going to see it in once the paint is on. So I've got to continue. This is what's happening with the rest of it. You can see here, this is pretty good. There's a little bit just tucked in there. This is okay. A little bit down there, but these, it feels lovely and smooth, really, really smooth. But I can still see marks. So I've got to continue on. There's the underside. All right. Um, I'm going to continue on. Yesterday, it being a Sunday, I was doing two of our podcasts with Ian, and he's recommended something called micro mesh pads. Now, here I've gone from 400 grit to 600 grit. And my highest grit I've got is 1200, which is usually enough. But I looked on Amazon, and the micro mesh pads, which are these like 2-inch pads, go up to like 8,000 grit. So they're on their way. They'll be arriving today. I'm just about to go outside and just continue a little bit more with the 600s while I'm waiting for them to arrive. And then I'm going to go up even higher grades, and hopefully I can get rid of this and get this really smooth. You can see here, it's very, very faint, but you have got the lines on the eyes. Now, later on when I reach the painting stage, this might actually help me with the paint job, but I think I'm going to take them back a little bit. I can just about feel them. They're barely there, but I'm going to have a go at them as well. All right. So yeah, so next step, go outside. It's a lovely sunny day today. I don't have to worry about dust and mess, and I'm going to continue rubbing away, and I think I'll come back once everything is rubbed down and pretty much ready for primer. All right, that's me done with the sanding. It's taken days, but I've gotten there. I finally finished off with 800 and then 1200, and that's incredibly smooth. It feels like a very smooth eggshell. Um, so that's done the trick. I think that's me done with the sanding from now on. So next step is just address these little issues. We've got this little lug up here, which I think it's just a malformed flat area. I'm just going to put a small piece of thin plasticard cut to size to cover that up. That's really the only blemish on the main body. Um, and then yeah, this is the most work that's needing doing. It's dealing with these, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these off, cut back to where it's not rising up, and fill that. All right. And then I've got a little bit more sanding to do because I've got these little ridges which are all in here. I think this is the pouring lugs. I don't know, but I've got to cut all them out. And my last bit of sanding is going to be sanding that smooth, right? Then I'm going to plug in the drainage holes there and in the main part and in the stand because I still get a whiff of the resin, and I think there's uncured resin in there. And I think this is what happened with the Metquake model I did a while back. Yeah, so I'm going to plug that with filler just to stop the smell. All right, so I'll come back once those jobs have been done. All right, so um, that's the gaps filled. All right, and the drain hole plugged, so I can't smell the resin anymore. One final rub down with very fine wet and dry, so that's lovely and smooth. And then on here again, the drain hole's plugged, and I've replaced that little area that was deformed. All right, so I've given everything also um, a final wipe with isopropyl alcohol. So this is clean and good to go for primer. So there we are in its grey primer, and I'm very happy with this. I'm very happy with how it's come out. Managed to get pretty much most of the lines off, and it's lovely and smooth now. Um, I'll tell you what I noticed um, when I put the primer on. Can you see just there? You got two dots, two little holes, and I was going to fill them in, but it's like this is meant to be insect-like. And you know, with a praying mantis, it's got those big eyes with those tiny little dots. I don't mind these. If you can still see these by the time I finish painting it, I'm going to be quite happy with that. Um, so yeah, next step is painting. It's putting on a base coat, and I knew even before I bought the files for this. I knew back when I was going to make a studio scale one, the problem is going to be the colour because there is uncertainty about just what colour Martin Bauer used on the original. Martin doesn't remember. Um, and different people have done different colour schemes, you know. And I've tried on a bit of test card, various colors, but I haven't come up with one where it's like definitively, yeah, that will do. That's a really good match. But I've got a can of paint coming from Germany, right? And I think I might have cracked it. I'll know in a few days. So while we're waiting for that to arrive, let's have a little talk about, you know, just the shapes, the donor shapes that you need if you're going to make a studio scale one of these. Now, the head, and I should have brought a photo down. I'll bring it next time if I remember. The head of this, what Martin used was one half of the Eagle transporter, the 44-inch one. Okay, this shape here is one half of the Eagle beak. All right, and then what you've got here, and this is when I should have brought the photo down, these are two halves of the shape that he used for Dione's escape craft in the episode The Last Enemy, and he stuck them on for the bug eyes, all right? And back in the day when I was doing a studio scale one, someone, and I think it was off the Eagle Transporter forum, very kindly sent me a vac form one of these. And so, yeah, I was good to go. And I had that shape. And that is the trickiest shape to get if you are going to do a studio scale. The next two shapes, they're exactly the same thing, but they're stuck together. Um, and that's here. You have one here and you have one here. All right. And the join, I think this is why Martin put all this detail down. It's to cover up the join. These are actually rear brake lights or rear light housings off of a Ford Anglia. All right. That gives you an idea of how big it was then. Yeah, and I managed, because you can get anything on eBay if you wait long enough, I managed to get two of them, all right? And I did glue them together, and I'd got that far. So you've got two uh, rear light fittings off of a Ford Anglia there. And then the last shape that you have to get is this, which is a Caddymatic tea dispenser. One of those things you have on the wall and you put a cup underneath it and it dumps out tea for you. Martin used these on various ships and buildings because you could just go down to Woolworths and buy them. All right. So again, I managed to obtain one of them. You have to be very careful if you want to go down the route of Studio Scale, you have to get the right one. There were different styles, right? I can't remember the name or the model number of the one that you need. It was red. I know that it's got this terrific, funky 70s coloured plastic, this bit, and it was red. You can get them in blue. You can get red ones that aren't the right shape, so you have to be very, very careful. And the last shape, which I never got round to getting, is these things in a row along here like this, and apparently they're counters off of a board game. All right, but I'd never reached that point. I'd sold the model on. So there we go. That's just a quick update for you. Next time I'm along, I will have colour on this. I promise. When I said I'd come back with colour, I wasn't really expecting the colour to be white, but here we are. It is in white. The yeah, so since the last time, it's nearly a month since the last time I videoed this. This has been sat to one side for nearly a month, and the reason for that is the whole choosing of the main colour. Um, Far more problematical than I thought it would be. Let's just take you through it, all right? So, as I said, there's real conjecture. No one is certain what colour it was, and therefore, when people do their version, they go their own way, and colours can vary quite a bit. We have yellow browns, we have orange browns, we have orange, we have brown. Some people think bronze. Um, no, the people who think it's bronze, I think they're being fooled by the shininess of some of the photography, and they think there's a metallicness to it when there isn't. The only metallic parts on this ship are the eyes. All right. Um, so yeah, as I say, we were in this problem where uh, Halfords, my local store, were almost out of paint. I did try. I think the very first one. I'm gonna take you through them. All right. First one I tried was this Volkswagen Brilliant Orange. This was the only orange left in the shop when I started sourcing it. All right, and that doesn't look too bright and orange, and I thought that might do. All right, and I sprayed it on a test piece of card, and I wasn't sure. So what I've done, this is a um, a Mega City One building that I'm doing on my Patreon page. All right, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to try it out. So what I did was, can you see there's two different shades of it? This is it over grey primer. This is it over white primer. So you get quite a subdued. It's far more subdued than this. In natural light, this is almost a brown orange, which would be fine if I want to go the dark route. And this is more of a lemony orange, which might be a bit too bright. Okay, so I'm in an iron. I'm in an iron. I think that was at the point I started looking on websites and ordering stuff. I got this one, Tamiya orange, far too bright. This looks quite pale, but it's not. It's a really bright orange, so that was out. Um, and yeah, then there's this paint from Germany, which apparently what Martin used was a duplicolor color. And so I found a duplicolor. Apologies if I've said this already because it's a month ago. I researched duplicolor orange and I found a color called traffic orange. All right. And that's the color I was waiting for. And this is it. All right. This is worse than that. I think this is called traffic orange because basically that's the orange that traffic cones are. It's like a fluorescent orange. So completely wasting my money, wasting my time. All right. So what the heck am I going to do? I learned from my friend Phil Stevens that what Halfords have been doing is they've been deliberately running down their stock because they have changed the way they do things. Up until now, you can go to Halfords here in the UK and you can get a name of a colour which has been going around since the 60s. So I'm doing a scratch build based on the Croton ship you see in Dorzac. And it looks very likely that the colour I chose was the colour Martin used, which is Rover Applejack Green, which is the colour Minis used to be. And it was still available and it was still there. It was still named that. I know, which brand is it? Volkswagen Mars Red he used. You could still buy that. Ford Diamond White, used so much on the Eagles on Space 1999, still available, still called Ford Diamond White, right? But what they've done now is they've restocked all the shops, hooray, but with a generic brand of paints. And basically what you do is you go along to the shop, they've got a little booklet there, you look through it, find the name of your car, find the color that you need, and then cross-reference it to the paints. And for example, when I went there yesterday, you've got 5 shades of orange, and then you've got like 5 shades of red, 5 shades of blue, and then it's metallic, blah, blah, blah. And I had a look because now I've got 5 oranges to choose from, and I chose this one, which is S5050 Orange Gloss. And I was so happy. I thought, this is it. Look, this is like a creamy orange. It's not going to be too bright, blah, 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 blah. Very happy with that. We went out for the day. It was my wife's birthday yesterday. We go down to the seaside, come back in the evening. Haha, so happy. Weather's nice. I can spray a test bit, right? And then I put it next to this. And basically, I've bought this one again because that is the same color. All right. Bugger, thinks I. I've now got 2 cans, which they would do. I could do one or the other of these. I could do it, but I don't know. But I'm running out of patience with this now. I want to move on. It's nearly a month and nothing's happened. So I could use either of these. They're the same. All right. I could do that. But then what I did today, I went to 2 more shops. This is my last chance, right? I went back to Halfords and I've got 040, which they look pretty identical, don't they? Here, but this one is darker, this one is lighter. So I want to have a test, all right? And then the other thing I did was I went to Hobbycraft, where they do these paints called Montana. And I think these are really high class paints, but I think they're designed for graffiti artists and they have some really nice colors. I've used one before a very long time ago, the very first time I did my version of a Croton ship. And I remember they dry very, very matte, so that's good, but very, very dusty. I think I had to seal it with varnish because it still had like a chalkiness to it. Anyway, this is the color that they do. All right, which is a very yellowy orange, and I think this might be the one. All right, this might be the one over that one. Okay, so next step is I'm going to get a test strip of card, spray 1/2 in white, 1/2 in grey, and I'm going to do bands of colour all these colours all the way down, and I'm going to choose one, and I'll show you what that band looks like in the next video. I say that's the next thing. No, the next thing, what I've got to do, the reason I've sprayed this white is the eyes are going to be silver, all right? And I've already tested the spray silver, and it works a lot brighter in over white than it does grey. And so, yeah, next thing is spray the eyes silver. So I'll come back once that's done, and my little colour chart, okay? All right, finally, we're starting to put colours on it. Here we go. These are the eyes, silvery eyes. We've still got the two little dots, and I don't know if you can see it in there. Yeah, there they are. Did you see them? They're in, they're out, they're in, they're out. So yeah, this is Halford Silver, which I sprayed on. I masked everything up. I didn't want to have like silver absolutely everywhere, and then have to go back and then put primer over the top. Turns out I did. Look, I've been a bit sloppy with my masking, and there's a few places where you got a little bit of shadow of silver. So I've just got to spray that all white. All right, but they're ready to go. I'm looking forward to what I do with those at the end. But you'll see that at the end. So yeah, all I've got to do is get rid of these little residues of overspray, get rid of them, and then it's on with the colour. Right, so colour then. So it was down to 4, and here's my strip of card, right? So, and I don't know if how well you're going to make this out. This top one is the Volkswagen Brilliant Orange. Oh yeah, did I say this last time? I haven't checked the video that I did before, but this part of the card is grey. This part is white, because I just wanted to see how they are. Forget the grey. They just go all too grim and dark and horrible in grey. So it's got to be white. So this top band, excuse me, is the Volkswagen Brilliant Orange. Then we've got their new style paint, 040, which is slightly lighter. 050 is the same as the Volkswagen. I thought it was by the cap colour, and yeah, it's the same. And then at the bottom, you've got Montana, the high class graffiti paint. That's that's much, yeah, it's more like you can see in the shadow there. It's a very deep orange. All right. So I'm going to go for 040. That's the one that's got the more tinting towards yellow in the orange. All right. So that's what I'm doing next. As I say, I've just got to mask these eyes up, spray a bit of white on, and once done, I'm going to be turning him orange. Well, here we go in its base coat. It's not ideal. It's not a close enough match as I would have liked. But you know, I've spent so much time and an awful lot of money buying cans of potentially suitable paints, only to find out that they're not. So this is the best that I can get, and that's going to be fine. I'm already resigned to the fact that it's not going to be a perfect match, and I'm fine about that as well, because if you look at images of the Sidon ship, people have done their own versions before, and the details can differ an awful lot. And if you look at the original model being shown at shows and conventions, over the years, bits have fallen off and been put back on. So even the original model changes. I haven't got a shot of it at the moment, but the old nose here that you can see, this is a fair representation of the nose. I was going to say as it is now. I don't even know where the original is now, but there are photos and it has got a nose like this. It's always been a puzzle to me, this nose, because the original nose, let's bring in, this is quite a rare photo. This is a photo of the ship not long after Martin had made it, and you can tell that because it's still got its clear perspex wings, which when it was delivered to the studio, Brian Johnson wasn't keen on, so they were cut right off. So this is accurate. This model's accurate. There's a nod to them. This is all that was left. This is how they were cut off. But originally, they had perspex wings, which makes it even more insect-like. I can see what Martin was going for. But no, the nose. The nose itself, if you're a model maker, you'll spot that. That is an engine bell from the Saturn V kit. You know, the little single engine bell right at the top near, you know, the stage just before the little command bit with the three astronauts in. That's all that is. It's just because you look, you can see the two lugs there, which go into the the rest of the ship. That's all that was. So I'm a bit puzzled. Whoever owned this model, when that dropped off, obviously didn't know what that was, and yet it's such a recognisable piece. But this is a fair representation of at least how it looked some years after. All right, so oh, and the other thing is here, this half shape you might recognise with the lines on it. That's um, from the Saturn V kit as well. Not so well represented here. It's just a shape here. Now I don't know if you can make this out, but the the rear end and the middle is gloss, and the head is matte. And the reason for that is I masked off the metallic eyes to do this. And I never like leaving masking on for too long because I've had it before where if you leave it on for, you know, days and days or a couple of weeks, the glue starts to react with the paint, all right? And I didn't want that. This is a lovely smooth silver. I didn't want anything to go wrong, all right? So what I've done, because the next stage, and this is the bit I'm not really looking forward to, is Martin, because he had a couple of weeks to make the Sidon ships, but he only made one because they just rolled back the camera and they filmed it three times. So there was only one. So he had plenty of time. So he not only built it, but he was a master at doing the panels, the different coloured panels, and he used an awful lot of decals everywhere. This is nothing compared to what you see elsewhere, but I think these are like Letraset um, full stops off of an old Letraset sheet. All right. Um, so yeah, I've got to start, at least on this part, and especially on the end, I've got to start masking this up to put on other colors. All right. And it wasn't until I put this color on, it's like, is this the dark color? And I've got to put on light panels, or is this the light color and I've got to put on dark panels? Now I've sprayed it, I know this is the light color, this is the main base color. I've got to put on dark panels all down here, all right, which, as I say, I'm not looking forward to. At the moment, I'm thinking I don't want to try and research another paint and order more spray paints and they turn up and they're not suitable. Okay, so I'm thinking about masking up and very carefully hand painting them, but we'll see. That's somewhere down the line. My point is that if I'm putting all these paints on, different paints on and decals on and everything's going to be all glossy. I've got to wait until I've done all that and I've put all the decals on before everything gets a coat of matte varnish, all right, to dull it all down, to stop this horrible sheen. Well, you might be able to see what I've done because I didn't want to wait, because that's going to be a good 2 or 3 weeks away from now. I didn't want that masking to stay on the eyes for too long. So what I've done is I've got a plastic bag, covered up the main body, and I've put decals on. All right. Now, as I say, this is nowhere near like the original. So this is another one. This is another Sidon ship in the fleet, right? So they're slightly different. It's an alien. It's an alien race. They might all be different. So what I've done is, you can see I've put on some decals, right? Little decals here and there. I've just made uh, the NPC Eagle transporter, and the decal sheet comes with spare decals, generic decals. All right. which is great. And also, at the same time as this, I'm making the what am I making? Oh, the hawk. Fully scale hawk. Sorry, I've got so many things I'm doing at the moment, and they come with spare ones as well. So what I've done is, while this was nice and shiny, I've put on some decals. It's just a nod to what Martin was doing, all right, and just to break the orange up a bit. And I've sprayed it matte varnish. I sprayed matte varnish on it. Okay, so there you go. It is now like so. All right. Okay, so this is more like what it's going to end up after I've done the next bit. But then that won't be the end of it because I'm going to dirty it down as well. I don't want it as a showroom finish. So it's going to be a bit of a delay now because I've got to take my time on doing the contrasting colors here. We've got black to be putting on around here. We've got all the black stripes on the rear of the Cadamatic there. So it's going to be a while before I come back now, I think. Well, it's not that long um, since the last one. So, yep, here I go. I've been putting on the other colours. Um, I found, I can't remember the name of it. There's an orange that Games Workshop do called, it's something orange, jambalaya orange. It begins with J, something orange, all right? And I found that that was a nice, suitable um, lighter tone because on the original you've got the base coat, you've got a lighter tone of panels, and you've got a darker tone of panels, and then you've got the black. All right, and I found this is a nice, almost the same. All right, so what I did was I just got my masking tape and I just taped it up and I hand brushed them. All right, uh, the only issue there is if you do that, all right. Um, Even though they're quite closer colour, they don't stand out much. They don't look quite right. So they need outlining, which is what I've been doing. All right. And to do that, all I've been doing is once this is totally dry, I get some of my masking tape again and I put it along the line like so. And then I just get a sharp pencil and I draw along and then peel it off. That's what I've been doing. You can see I've been doing it there. All right. And I'm going around and I'll soon be doing that. Put in the black here. I think what I'm going to do for these black stripes to get a nice straight line, instead of painting these, I'm going to use my Go Faster stripes and I'm going to stick them on, see how that goes. All right. The other color, the darker color, is this earthy, fleshy tone, again from Games Workshop, which I've done, which is close enough. I'm happy enough with that. All right. And as you can see, I've been outlining those panels as well. Got some more of the yellow, or the lighter orange there to look almost like a yellow. All right, so happy with how all that's going. I've just got to finish off all the pencil marks there, put the Go Faster stripes on there. On the original, this has all got hot, so I've got to get my pastels out, do some pasteling on there, pick out that in metallic, put a few decals on, and then seal all that with matte varnish, and then we're ready to go. The only problem I can see is this color here is fine in small panels like so, but on the main part of the ship you've got two bands of it, one here and one here, and I've been studying the photos. I'm sorry, I haven't got any printed out so I can't show you them, but I've been studying the photos, and again, this just adds to the fact that I don't mind that it's not a slavish recreation and it's my own take on it, in that there are other errors on this model that I've got. One of them is this area from here to here is not long enough. Proportionally, it's not long enough to take the band that's meant to go on there. You're meant to have a band here and a band there. And I can do the band there, but I can't do the band there because that bit's in the way. So I'm just going to have one band there. All right. Um, Now, what I'm thinking is this color is fine on small panels, but I'm worried that on a big one, because this is hand painted as well, hand painting a large panel is going to look a bit horrible, especially as this is really quite a thin paint. That took like 3 coats to put that on, and I'm going to start seeing brush marks, and I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce another color just for this band here. One goes there, one goes there, and you've got, it goes on the underside as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mask off where the band goes, and I'm going to refer you back to this Patreon build that I've been doing. Still haven't finished it. I've got to do some matte varnish on this. You might remember, if you've been bearing with me, that this is the same color Volkswagen Brilliant Orange, but this is it over white primer, much like the Sidon Ship, and this is it over grey primer, right? Same color, 2 different primers, all right? So the plan is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mask up for that panel, spray it in grey primer, and then the Brilliant Orange back over the top, and that should give me the same sort of like variation in color that I've got on the other one. All right. The other thing that I was going to say while studying these panels is there are other errors. I can't do the little black triangle affair, which is just in or behind these 2 circles. All right, because the bit that was painted on just isn't here. There's no way that you can get a triangle. This is meant to be coming out. As I say, this isn't long enough. This should be out a bit more, because the triangle is meant to go out like so, here like that, and it just can't happen, so I'm not doing that. And another error is there's a black band just here, all right, and on the original that's just a black band that Martin had painted on, but here it's a recessed groove, all right. And I don't mind that, it's going to make it easier to paint, but yeah, it's just another thing that's just adding to enforcing the whole thing of this is my own ship, and I'm going my own way. So I'll come back once that's all done, and maybe the rear section will be done, and we're getting close to the end now, I think, finally. Well, I'm enjoying this far more now, this build, and that's because I know where I'm going. You know, earlier in this video, once I put all this together, you will have heard me voicing uncertainties. You know, there's uncertainties of will I be able to remove all the 3D printing lines properly? What color shall I do it, etc., etc., etc. Now I'm on the home straight. I know what I'm doing. There's one bit right near the very, very end that at the moment I'm not quite sure how I'm going to go about it, and how that's going to actually come out, but that's in the future for me. That's about a week away, I reckon. So yeah, I know what I'm doing now, and here we go. I've outlined all the different coloured panels. Like I said, I've put on the Go Faster stripes, because these were the same width as the actual bands, so I've put them on. As you can see, very, very shiny at the moment, but I'm going to be taking care of that soon. This as well is adding to the whole, I'm not that bothered that it's not that accurate. I mean, these black lines on the original are just painted on, but this model, these are actually raised straight panels. They're not the curvy black lines that were painted on. All right, so that's them on. Next step is at the end here, I'm going to get some black pastel and make that all smoky, because that's how it is on the original. All right, and then I'm going to be putting on various small decals. Again, they're not there on the original, but this is my take on it. All right, so that's the rear half. It's going to be weird to have both halves finally put together at the end. And here we go. This is what I was saying last time. What I did yesterday was just masked up. I decided to do the back. I was going to do just the one, like I said, but I felt that would look a bit bare at the back. So it's really amazing. This color orange, this color I've put on is the same color as that. All I did was mask it up, spray on grey primer and spray the orange over the top. It's incredible the difference a white or grey undercoat has on it. So there on, all I've got to do now is again highlight the edging on those panels. You can see I'll put the black in, and once I've drawn around them, again decals are going on this, and then it's going to have a matte varnish to match the rest of it. All right. So yeah, as I say, looking forward now to the the next day or so, and I'll come back with yeah. I guess the next time I come back is to discuss the only other unknown that I've got it. No, there's two. There's two coming. All right, I'll come back with the first one next time. Okay, so I've had this project on the go for almost 2 months, which is a very, very, very long time for me. Yeah, it's been a long, drawn out affair, but we're nearly there now because we're in factory finish. All right, everything's painted, markings are on, decals are on, everything's had a nice coat of matte varnish. So yeah, next step is actually finally join the two parts together, and then when I've done that, I can put on a coat of weathering, which is when I'll come back. This is a very good example of how difficult it was for me to find try and find anything that was approximating the right orange. I mean, look at the light levels today. I mean, some areas of this it's orange, some areas it's almost yellow. To my eye, it's all one color orange, but to the camera's eyes, there's all sorts of different shades going on. But anyway, finally assembled, and what I've done is I've given it a wash of raw umber and black mixed together, washed down very, 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 very watery, and put on and almost immediately dabbed off. It's not that clear with the camera today, but you can see it's in there. All right. My recommendation, if you're doing that, is if you're putting it on a model that's got matte varnish on it, the matte varnish will suck it in almost immediately, and you've got to take it off within seconds. If you leave it more than like 10, 15 seconds, it will soak in, and you'll get tide marks and streaks and you won't be able to wipe it off. All right, so I'm happy with that. That's the level of weathering that I was after. As I say, there's more on there than it looks at the moment. Hopefully, in the final little snippet, little video, you'll be able to pick it out a bit better. So I've got two more challenges, right? I've got to deal with the eyes, and I've got to deal with the wings. Now, um, it's not that evident, but just here where my fingernail is, that's the remainder of the wings the ship used to have. I guess Martin, wanting it to look insect-like, not only gave it eyes, but he gave them wings, all right? And it's not that obvious there, but if you look at photos of it when it was first test photographed, see, it's got wings, okay? And in this shot, there's a shadow underneath it, and I'm thinking these are clear perspex wings, all right? And when Martin took it to Bray Studios, Brian Johnson had them cut right down to what's left. I guess they just stuck out too far. They either were getting in the way or the light was reflecting off of them badly, so they were cut down. And I haven't got the photo, but in other photos you can see that it's like clear perspex with black bands. So I've got to replicate that. And for the clear perspex, I deliberately kept this bit of the thing a very light orange, and I'm going to be putting over a layer of Tamiya smoke because I think that might kind of like convey a an opaqueness. All right, so that's that. I'm going to try that. Don't know how it's going to work. And then for the eyes in many shots, I mean, they were silver, but light was bouncing off of them, so the studio lights and everything. And can you see it's even happening here? You're getting more, it looks like there's more going on in there than there actually is. And I wanted to get that across. I don't want them just plain silver. Again, the camera's doing an awful lot of work for me and putting a special effect on it. I don't want a special effect. Um, um, because I can't see the special effect, if you see what I mean. With the naked eye, they're just silver. With the camera eye, it's all very interesting. So I want that interesting thing to actually be on the naked eye. Sorry, rambling a bit, but this is my version. I'll do what I like. So what I'm going to do to try and, convey that, I'm going to use this stuff, which I've used before on a Games Workshop figure on a magic mirror. This is Color Shift Toxic Purple, all right? And you can't see it. Hopefully you will see it when I'm done. You're meant to put it over a gloss black surface, and then you get this like purpley color, all right? Um, I'm thinking if I put it over silver, it's going to be a much more subtle effect. So that's the next thing then. It's experiment time. I don't know how this is going to go, doing the wings, doing the eyes, but I'll come back when I'm done. So fingers crossed for me, eh? Here we are then. More than 2 months since I started it. I finished it. That's a very long time for me to be working on a model, but she's finally done and on her stand, as you can see. It didn't go according to plan at all. These wings I painted in Tamiya smoke, and it was just a horrible blotchy mess that wasn't convincing at all. So I put on instead a Games Workshop orange. Begins with J, can't really remember the name of it, but it's like a fleshy, almost flesh tone. In fact, this is one of the colours I originally was going to paint it if I had no choice but to hand paint. I'm glad I didn't. So yeah, put them on there, and then the black bands. I've ummed and ahed about whether to put some gloss on there, but I've decided to hold off. This has been a long build, as I say, for me, and I don't want to cock anything up at this very late stage. So that's them done. The eyes, again, didn't pan out how I wanted it to. Um, on both eyes there, you've got a coat each of the pearlescent paint, and it absolutely didn't show at all. There's no sign of it. I poured some out the bottle onto a palette, and on that white palette, you can see it. You can see it on white. It does the trick on white, but it doesn't do the trick on silver. There's absolutely no sign of it to the naked eye here. Um, I'm just glad there's no sign of the brush strokes, because that would have been just pointless and a waste of time and very annoying. What you're getting though here is you are seeing colours and flaring going on, and it's because this is artificial light. If I switch to natural light, you get a little bit of it, but it's more white light, of course. The warmness of the light is doing this. It's giving colours to the eyes that aren't actually there, and I think this is what was happening back when the model was filmed. I think that they were just regular silver lights. I don't think pearlescent paints were even out then. I might be wrong, but I've got a feeling they were just bog standard silver eyes, and then the studio lights were reflecting in them, and reflections were bouncing off of all sorts of other light sources, and it gave you colors where there weren't colors. And this is all right for me. I don't mind this. Yeah, look how it changes as I yeah, yeah. So I don't mind that. I don't mind that. That's camera trickery, and I don't mind the fact that I haven't, in a permanent form, um, recreated a camera trickery. If you see what I mean, I'm blabbering a bit. I am sorry. So yeah, there she goes. She's done. It's not screen accurate, but I was resigned to that shortly into this build. This is my take, it's my version, and to my mind, if you're talking 70s spacecraft, the color of the 70s was orange. So yeah, I'm fine with this. So all done. I've always wanted a Sidon ship, and now I've got one. One last thing before I go is the customary now compare and contrast scale wise. So let's pull up. So that's that one. And here's Oh, here we go. So scale comparison. There you go. Two different fighter craft from two different worlds, both sharing a love of orange. So there we go. Thanks for coming along for the ride. I don't know how long this video is going to be once I put it together. If you sat through it all in one go, well done you.